On this week's edition of Shacking the Fool, first star will be starring your Chicago Bulls. Anyway, moving on. In baseball, the Cubs are off to a rocky start on their West Coast road trip, while the injury bug is hitting the South Side Hitmen. A famous Pro Football Hall of Famer and celebrity passes away. And will Tiger Woods make the cut at this year's Masters tournament? That and a whole lot more. It's the Friday edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Mr. Kim McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG, SCKid80. Once again, it's SCKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kim McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, you can catch our other live shows that we have airing throughout the week, so make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, please follow us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are at War Media Podcast, WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media, once again, on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call it Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Look at them and get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you fools to be and their boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you can get Sports Zone Chicago right now, live in 11 color on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the Sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, just hit up the Google Play Store and download that Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we'll be providing you with some of the best here on Second City Sports. Of course, we got the Masters going on right now. Of course, Max Homa is your clubhouse leader. As we speak, we'll keep you guys updated on that. Also, too, we'll recap the men's national championship game. The Cubs and Sox not have a good weekend this week, especially with the injuries and tough spot for the Cubs in the road trip. They played another tough one tonight against the Diamondbacks. Also, too, we've got the NBA as it's only a couple games left, and the Bulls have already clinched their 10th spot. Yay, the play-in, woohoo! And also, too, and of course, we got our buddies Christine Manika from KXRB and her hubby golf Chris Gilman to talk Masters. White Sox. I know Chris is really good about his Mariners right now and other hottest sports topics. But first, Sid, the news came across yesterday, and O.J. Simpson, who, how you want to call him, Heisman Trophy winner, Hall of Famer, passed away due to cancer. I've been seeing some of the various people who've covered OJ and Bob Costas, who was on the Today Show, and I think he kind of covered it when he was on there saying, telling Hoda a copy that Yeah, so his legacy is very complicated. Of course, we all know about the murders. It'll be 30 years actually coming up this June of the murders of his ex-wife Nicole and her friend Ron Goldman. And it's sort of one of those things where you can, I mean, it's sort of, I would say OJ Made in America. If you guys have not seen that great ESPN 30 for 30 doc that aired a few years back, I mean, that's probably about as close as you can get to. It's very non-biased. It's very kind of neutral, and I mean, I think for me, I think look, the player and everything else that kind of went between that. I think it's all part of his legacy, and I don't know about you, Sid, but I remember when all that happened, and for me, it was just one of those things where you're just like, well, look, I'm not gonna bring my own opinion on that, but it's just yeah, there's really nothing else you can say about that.
Yeah, we won't break down the trial here. There's many more people more qualified than us both combined to break down whether OJ actually did it. And we're not going to get into that here. But when I heard the news yesterday, Lakina, he's OJ was one of those polarizing figures, and he was beloved by everyone in America and around the world before what happened on the night of June 17th, 1994. Lakina, whether we want to give him credit or not, before Michael Jordan, before Kobe Bryant, before Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders, Emmitt Smith, and all the other athletes that would follow, O.J. Simpson was the first Black American athlete to advertise to Middle America and made it okay for Black athletes to sell to everyone, not just through their own community. Of course, we all know him as a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and he was a great commentator for both ABC's Monday Night Football for a couple of years, and where I remember him was he did great work for NBC. He was Ahmad Rashad as far as doing work on the sidelines before Ahmad Rashad did what he did with the NBA and inside stuff in the 90s. Of course, Ahmad Rashad worked with him in the 80s on worked there at NBC in the 80s along with OJ. But he was a polarizing figure, and he did those famous Hertz commercials, jumping through the airport, hurling through the airport, and trying to get to his car from the airplane. So he was beloved by everybody. He had that personality that would light up a room. Of course, he had a great career at USC, but like you said, the June 17th changed everything, Lakina. And I found it ironic, and not to blame everything on social media, but I found it ironic. I'm not going to say I had a problem with it, but I found it kind of ironic that I forgot what this YouTube channel, the name of this YouTube channel, but I don't know if you saw it yesterday, but this YouTube channel put up the Game 5 in its entirety between the Houston Rockets and the New York Knicks. I don't know if you saw it yesterday, but I ended up watching it last night because there was really nothing on, to be honest with you. But I remember that night with that Game 5 between the Knicks and Rockets. If you were living here in Chicago at the time, of course, it was the first time that Michael Jordan retired. But remember Ryan Majors, who was working at NBC5 at the time? I know he moved on to ABC7. He's been retired for a decade now. But the NBA Finals game was on the lower right-hand corner of the screen, and of course the OJ chase was right in the middle of the screen. Lakina, even as a 13-year-old, and this was between my 7th and 8th grade year in grammar school. Okay, even then I had the perspective of some things are more important than sports. As that chase progressed, Lakina, I gave less than a damn about the NBA Finals. Of course, we all know what happened. He got off the expressway and what have you, but this was for our younger listeners and viewers. This was pre-social media, pre-cell phones, pre-internet. It was one of those events that you were glued to the TV. Nothing else mattered. And like Tom Brokaw at that time on NBC News said, it was like watching a movie. You couldn't turn away from it. And that's what it was at that time.
Yeah, I saw on Michelle ESPN's Michelle Steele's. She posted on her Twitter this morning when the news broke, and I remember they were kind of going back and forth, between the Rockets and the Knicks game, and then of course they talked about OJ, and then this and that. And then they did the split screen, then they did like the side by side, and then they had one on the upper right hand corner, one on the lower right hand corner. It was just like, good lord, it was kind of like I was telling our buddy Twan Staley, I guess that he's around the same age as we are. Of course, covers just for the New York Daily News. I think we all suffer from whiplash that day, and it's one of those days where it literally changed everything. It was kind of starting the beginning of reality TV, and if you remember Court TV, which has now been since defunct, that launched actually right in the middle of that trial. So that started that. And then it also started folks' fascination, even more fascination with, the true crime, genre. So it kind of sort of kind of changed like the pop culture, I guess, because just imagine if that was happening now with the age of social media. I mean, this was look, I was in seventh grade, yeah, 94, okay, 94. I think, yeah, I was in fourth grade, and it was kind of one of those things where I was sixth grade, I should say. I was in sixth grade at the time, and we talked about it because it was it happened on a Friday, so it was like everyone had they had the whole weekend to kind of like talk about it, and it was on every channel, ABC, NBC. I mean, I think Dan Rather was on vacation. They kind of had to bring him in just so that he could do the coverage for CBS, and of course Priya Jennings, God rest his soul, did for ABC, and then of course this is before Fox News, and this was CNN had it. This is before MSNBC. I think MSNBC launched like not too long after that too. ESPN even had it as well on their feed, so it was literally something all over the place. It was kind of like a fall from grace, if you will, and I think that kind of unfolded. And this was just in 1994, so go figure this is happening now in 2024. So like this was happening.
Yeah, you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. Lakina here with you discussing the passing of O.J. Simpson. He passed away yesterday at the age of 74 due to pancreatic cancer. Lakina, bringing up into today's times with social media, especially with that Bronco chase. Remember all those people standing at the each overpass? Yeah. I guarantee you that was in today's times. Every single last one of those folks would have had a picture of, hey, go Jews, tweet, in being silly and trying to capture the moment. And like you said, things were more, for like a better term, control back then. Now with social media, everything's just ramped up because we all want the information right now. We want it every second. And I know that the attorneys, like the Kardashians, their father, Robert Kardashian, remember he read that statement before OJ went on the loose. He's like, OJ had that infamous note, suicide note, I think it was. And so, and before that happened, but he became famous. Of course, the late Johnny Cochran became famous. Of course, Marsha Clark and Christopher Durden representing the other side. Of course, Mark Furman, the former detective of the LAPD, he was famous. A whole lot of people became famous during that trial. But if we were in the era that we are now in social media, a whole lot more people would become famous. I'm sure. I guarantee you there's a whole lot of more goofy TikTok channels would have started then. A whole lot of you would have heard a whole lot more opinion, whether you're for or against OJ, as far as what happened. And like you said, things are where we are right now with social media being ramped up. Trust me, the internet would have blown up.
I mean,
no pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, it would have broken the internet. I mean, and just how much it kind of still resonates. The trial itself. I mean, Ryan Murphy produced that limited series, I should say, that swept a lot of the awards. I mean, Courtney B. Vance won for playing Johnny Cochran. Sterling K. Brown kind of became a star. He won an Emmy for playing Chris Darden. So, and I think Sarah Paulson played Marsha Clark, so she ended up winning a lot of Emmys as well. So that still kind of resonates with a lot of people. And this was about like almost 30 years later. So it's one of those things where it really like changed the landscape of everything. And it kind of, reality TV was a thing, but it kind of like slowly like launched everything, cameras in the courtroom and all that. So, yeah, you saw this sort of like fall from grace. And it's sort of one of those things where to this day, I think you kind of just have to look back on it and kind of just shake your head. But
yeah, I just want to wrap up by saying this. For those folks that are our age, Lakina, I'll say about between 36 and older. Remember your parents telling us their stories of where were they when the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. Same with when Reagan was shot, and some of the other important events that are of our time. And they told us the stories. This was our 9/11 pre 9/11. Yes, I can bring in the murder of the late rapper Notorious B.I.G. I know it's comparing apples to oranges, but you get what I'm going with this. The OJ, of course, we had the Rodney King riots 2 years prior, after the officers were acquitted the first time before they were tried and convicted on the second trial. This was our pre 9/11, before 9/11. What happened with OJ? And like you said, everything was in place after the arrest. His then ex-wife was a white woman. He was a black man, and race was injected into everything, and it really divided the country at the time, even to to the final verdict, which happened before my birthday in October '95. I was a freshman in high school when that went down, talking about the final verdict. So it took a whole year for that trial, and it just divided the country at that time. And everybody thought we were quote unquote dumb and race after Rodney King. Nope, the OJ trial came and went, and we're still seeing the effects of that to this day, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that kind of the division of it still. You probably see it's worse now than it was back then, but that's a whole different conversation. So, okay, so we'll move on to do sports here. Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Where do you want to go to first, Sid, after the break?
Let's go to the Diamond.
All right, let's talk baseball as the Cubs have a rough start to their West Coast trip. The injuries are running rapid for the White Sox, and as both are geared up for a big series this weekend coming up. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Chicago. We go to the Diamond coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow Makina McGee on the Twitter, X, again, the IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, don't be afraid. We'd love to hear your opinions. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page and Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakino, get them up on the screen for you.
Okay, so let's go to Diamond as we'll start with the Cubs first as they lose a tough series to the Padres 2-3, and they blew their first game after being up 8-0. There's a national championship game, so I actually went ahead and turned after UConn had it. We'll talk about the national championship game in the next hour, but then that happened, and then they came back. Of course, Fernando Tatis hit that game-winning, go-ahead 2-run home run that kind of capped off that comeback by the Padres. So they lose that. They did win the second game, though. They come back. That was a nice comeback there in that game. Then Kyle Hendricks, not a good start for him. Unfortunately, they lose the series up to the Padres. They actually play the Diamondbacks. They play the Mariners, I should say, starting tonight. And we'll start with Hendricks first, because I know people are saying, hey, send him down, DFA. I'm like, look, I think he had a tough start last year. He's able to figure it out. And you ask him, he doesn't want to, I think he can still figure it out. I think he's he's been doing this a while. This is not his first rodeo. It was the last part of that, 2016 Cubs squad World Series winning. So I think I say give him a little bit of time to look. If you got to give him from a bullpen for a little bit, if you have to do that, fine. But I'm not gonna, Cubs fans should not be, too too tied up about that just yet.
I think Cubs fans should be tied up about that bullpen, especially after what happened on Monday night. Kyle Hendricks, like you say, he's going to figure it out. He's not the same pitcher, folks, that he was in 2016. He's not the same pitcher he was 5-6 years ago. But as long as he's healthy, he's good enough that's going to give you innings. That's all you need for him. I know he's not been good his last two starts. Of course, the other day on Wednesday against the Padres, and of course last Friday against the Dodgers. The difference was last Friday the offense bailed him out. He wasn't so lucky that the offense bailed him. The offense didn't bail him out in San Diego. But that bullpen, we talked about it last year. They're piecing it together. Albert Alzolay emerged in the second half of the season as the closer. I still believe in him as a closer, but we talked about it last year. We'll talk about it again. I'm sure we're going to talk about it at the trade deadline. They need to get a veteran piece in there to help stabilize the middle of that bullpen. Now, offensively, I'm still not worried about them. Offense comes and goes, but I think they're the top three offensive team in the National League behind the Braves and the Dodgers. You saw the game that they won on Tuesday with Christopher Morel's first career grand slam. And of course, Michael Busch, and not too many people are talking about him right now, that rookie first baseman. He had a couple of hits in that series, and I think he was the only one that scored the RBIs in that game on Wednesday, which they lost. So I will say he's starting to take baby steps to figuring out at the plate. Javier Assad on Monday, Lakina, he pitched an okay game for him, but once again, that bullpen blew it for him. So I think the Cubs are still trying to figure it out. Offensively, I'm still not worried about them. I'm not even worried about them starting pitch-wise, even though we broke down the numbers of Kyle Hendricks. But you're worried about the bullpen, i.e. the middle relief. I think that's going to be their Achilles heel, just like last year, until they figure out some way to get another body or two in there.
Yeah, if one thing that'll probably keep the Cubs from going even further, perhaps not even win the division, will be that middle relief, and they're going to have to figure that out. They could have gotten Jordan Montgomery, they didn't. They decided to kind of go with what they had, and unfortunately, so far, especially we saw it on Monday when they blew that 8-0, I should say. It was really the bullpen that kind of got it. That kind of just they were giving up walks. They were throwing fastballs, and that monster pitch that Tatis hit when they go ahead 2-run homer that ended up clinching the game for the Padres. It was just one of those things where you're just like, what the hell is going on here? So hopefully they can figure it out. I mean, look, they figured it out last year. You wondered was it maybe a little bit too late, and it kind of went back to their old their bad old habits. So you hopefully that's not the case. And then look, we're only a couple weeks into the season, so hopefully they can figure it out and they can figure it out kind of quick, because you don't want to be too far behind in the Brewers and the Pirates and their hot starts. We'll see if they can keep it up, but I'm not too worried about the Cubs just yet. They face the Mariners starting tonight, and they've kind of had a hard, we'll talk about that in a second. They've kind of been underachieving a little bit, but again, I'm not worried about the Mariners either. They're 5-8. It's they kind of have to get it all in cohesive thing. They've got the hitting. It's just that the pitch has been letting them down as well.
Yeah, like you said, we're only 2 weeks now past the second full week of the season. So, like you said, you cannot win the division in April, but you could definitely lose it. And I'm not worried about the Cubs. Like I said, they have the offense to bail them out, but there's going to be times that you have to win games 3-2, 2-1, 4-2, with all your bets that are not clicking. You're not hitting home runs like you normally are. So, and a major part of that is pitching, and the Cubs need that, especially with their bullpen.
We'll see if they can keep it up. We'll see what happens in Seattle against the Mariners now. The Sox, I mean, they get their second win of the season. Gavin Sheets had a great series against the Guardians, but unfortunately, Jose Mareras, we know how much he loves playing plays in the White Sox, playing the White Sox. So
you cannot punch Tim Anderson anymore.
yeah, they all don't have to deal with him either. So he's gonna be going like crazy. And but the big story here for the Sox is Yoan Moncada strained abductor. He's going to be out for 3 to 6 months, not 3 to 6 weeks, 3 to 6 months. And it was the team was already not going to be poised to have a good season anyway. So it's maybe even worse now.
You don't wish anybody to get hurt in the competition of athletics. If you do, you're a sick individual, in my opinion. But I can understand. I kind of lean into this scenario that Yoan Moncada, he's one of those guys that just hasn't fulfilled his potential in a White Sox uniform, mainly because of injuries. And same thing with Eloy Jimenez. I'm not going to say good riddance or good grief because that'll be way too over the top from my view. But hopefully it'll open up an opportunity for someone else to play third base and for GM Chris gets to get a future third baseman in there, whoever that is. But call me crazy, Lakina, even though they lost 2 out of 3 to the Cleveland Guardians this week. I'm not saying this team's going to make a miraculous turnaround, no. But I'm kind of been encouraged on how the way they play. Now, they should have won Wednesday's game, which they lost 7-6 in 10 innings. Like you said, Gavin Sheets had a great game and a great series. He had 5 RBI. And Dominic Fletcher, the new right fielder, looks like he's coming on. And it looks like Kevin Pillar, who they cut in spring training, but brought back just to have a body on the roster. He had a great game on Tuesday in their only win in that series with 2 RBI as well. So, and like you mentioned, Michael Kopech, hopefully he'll gain that confidence being the team's closer for right now. As we said before, we'll say it again. Steve Stone said it last week in that first one of the year against Atlanta. Kopech needs more than the changeup. He needs more to rely more than that fastball, because if you throws mostly fastballs as a closer, most of those were going to be knocked out of the yard. But hopefully Michael Kopech can gain confidence going forward as being the closer. The White Sox can score runs even with all their big guys out, but they cannot close games. And just like we talked about with the Cubs, they had better offensive talent than the White Sox do overall. But the White Sox bullpen outside of Michael Kopech, it's been terrible. Tim Hill, the tall guy, the left-hand reliever, he can go. And I know I'll be saying about a whole lot more players as the season goes on, but he can go. He can go, in my view.
Made that big error that kind of opened the rally for the Guardians in that rubber match on Wednesday. So that was definitely not a good showing for him. At least I can see Sports of Chicago. Like Kenny McGee, Cindy Brown with you while the White Sox will be playing. They'll be hosting Cincy starting tonight. Now let's talk about the rest of MLB. The Yankees continue to impress. They have the best record right now. They're at 10-3, and it's really been the pitching. It's really been, with Garrett Cole still on the shelf, but the hitting has been really what kind of is sort of, kind of got they score. Of course, Juan Soto still doing his thing. Of course, Aaron Judge starting to heat up a little bit as well, but it's really been the pitching. It's been very impressive.
Yeah, I watched the first 2 games of that series. Nestor Cortez, who was a surprise All-Star 2 years ago. Of course, last year he struggled with injuries. He's back this year, folks, and he won the first game of that series with a great pitcher performance, followed by the next night by former White Sox starter Carlos Rodon. Of course, his name has been thrown under the bus and on the New York Tabloids last year for not having a great year due to the huge contract that he signed before last season. He pitched a good game on Tuesday. Of course, you mentioned the Marlins won the series finale on Wednesday, but like you mentioned, the Yankees are playing very well right now. Juan Soto has made a definite impact hopefully Aaron Judge stays healthy. Hopefully John Carlos Stanton stays healthy as well. And you still have a DJ LeMahieu as well. So the Yankees have all the tools to win, but they're going to be carried by the health of Aaron Judge and that starting pitcher who can continue to keep up that momentum.
Yeah, we'll see if they can do that. Now, Jackson Holiday drove in his first MLB RBI on yesterday as the Orioles they sweep the Red Sox. And I mean, of course, he's the son of the future Hall of Famer Matt Holliday, and it's sort of interesting that he kind of has similar sort of styles with his hitting and his stance like his dad did. And it's going to be interesting to see how he and Gunnar Henderson, Ali Reisman, they all came from the same minor league system, so it's really going to be interesting to see how those three mesh together. But they're off to a good start, sweeping the Red Sox.
Yeah, they like we talked about before. Baltimore usually brings out the bats, but I'm interested in their starting pitcher. It was shook up a little bit in that series opener the other day. We'll get to the Red Sox side of it in just a moment, but. The starting pitcher the last 2 days, including last night, settled down, and they got support courtesy of the office. You mentioned Jackson Holiday. I watched those 2 games, and of course he hasn't had a hit yet, but you can see the potential in that young man. I know he played second base. He has great range as far as the second baseman, but the hits are going to come, folks, from the plate. So be patient with that. On the flip side, Lakina, I don't know if you watched that whole opener for Boston the other day. I know this year is the 20th anniversary of the 014 that won the World Series. Of course, Tim Wakefield and his wife passed away during the offseason. I thought it was an emotional but beautiful opening ceremony because Tim Wakefield's daughter threw out the first pitch, and of course, she was backed up by the whole 04 Red Sox team. I know Dave Roberts wasn't there because he's managing the Dodgers, but the majority of the 04 team was there, and I know it was an emotional day for the Red Sox fans, mourning the loss of Wakefield and his wife and celebrating the 04 team at the same time, which Wakefield was a part of. But I thought the Red Sox organization handled that very well.
Yeah, I saw that. That was really sweet. I think she used to play softball. I think his daughter does, and that was really cool. I think his son was on the side as well. So, I can only imagine what those two are going through right now. He losing both parents within a month. Both to cancer. I can't imagine that. So, let's keep them in our prayers. But they seem to be handling everything one day at a time. That's all you can really ask for in that situation. But a really sweet moment on that one. Now the Red Sox actually did win that opener. But yeah, they will lose the next 2. So, the pitch has really been an issue for the Red Sox. And of course, you're facing a team like Baltimore who are very opportunistic and they can hit the ball like crazy. That's going to be kind of like if the Red Sox want to kind of hang in there like they did last year, that's really going to be the thing. The pitcher really has to step up.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about with Baltimore. They started pitching will have to step up. We talked about the acquisition of Corbin Burns via trade from Milwaukee during the offseason that helped solidify that rotation, and we'll see what happens there. Now, the other New York team I want to talk about for just a hot second is the New York Mets. They take 2 out of 3 in Atlanta. They defeated the Braves yesterday in the series finale 16-4. I know the game the day before will be made up in the later day. It was supposed to be a 4-game series, but it turned out to be a 3-game series. But the game that the Atlanta Braves won, the Mets had a big lead, but the Mets had a big lead, but the Braves came back and won. And the Mets, we know they have issues with their bullpen. Their starting staff is a big average at best. They still have a couple of bad bats with Pete Alonso and Brandon Nimmo, and let's see if Francisco Lindor can turn it around here. Now, on the flip side, real quick, Lakina, before I forget, I don't know if you caught this on Monday, but of course, we talked about it on the show being the 50th anniversary of Hank Aaron's home runs number 715. But the Atlanta Braves organization did a great job by honoring him during the game. And I don't know if you caught Dusty Baker during the Atlanta Braves broadcast Monday. Did you?
Yeah, I did. I listened to him.
He said that basically Hank Aaron was a father figure to him, and which helped Dusty Baker progress throughout his major league career. Like you mentioned on Monday, Dusty was a member of the Braves at the time. He was in the on deck circle when Hank Aaron hit home run number 715.
Yeah, he was definitely a mentor for him in his first few years, and you could kind of tell how emotional he got during that telecast. So it was a really great moment for Atlanta. On the baseball front, they are starting to struggle a little bit. Remember, Strider's out for who knows how long, so you wonder Well, that kind of, they do have the bats, of course. That's going to be kind of like what's going to help them. But if they can't get the pitching going, their striker is going to be out. Someone else on that staff is going to have to step up. So, that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Now, Toronto, I want to say, I don't know what's going on up there in Canada. They traded one of their relievers for, I don't know what the hell you call that, but it's kind of interesting. They did win 2 out of 3 against the Mariners. They have the Rockies starting tonight at home, so hopefully that can kind of freshen up that a little bit. They can kind of the Rockies can kind of be the cure of whatever ails you, so whatever helps. But I'm not worried about Toronto, but I'm kind of like keeping an eye on them.
Yeah, we talked about them. They have the bats, but do they have the starting pitching outside of Kevin Gausman and Jose Barrios? We'll see what happens with them. And like I said, Colorado should be a cure for most teams that they play on the schedule this year. I want to go back to the National League. You're talking about, I know, the White Sox opponent this weekend starting tonight on the South Side. That's the Cincinnati Reds. It was supposed to be a 4-game series, but one of the games got rained out. It will be made up in a later day. Cincinnati loses 2 out of 3 to Milwaukee. And Milwaukee right now is 8-3. And I'm reading right correct. Yeah, 8-3. Cincinnati 6-6. We didn't expect too much from Milwaukee this year. Of course, they lost Craig Counsell, their former manager, moves down south to Chicago. They traded Corbin Burns. Christian Yelich is still there, made an impact on the game on Wednesday. But are you surprised about this hot start by Milwaukee?
A little bit, but I'm a little bit. They still got Wade Miley, so that's gonna, going off the injured list to pitch. So that was kind of the thing there. But it'll be interesting to see if they can keep it up. I mean, look, we saw this happen with Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh's also having a hot start. I mean, no one's really expecting them to do too much. So I think both those teams are probably going to be like, I don't want to say they're going to be out, but I think they're kind of like going to a standstill after about another month or two. Like I said, long season for White Sox, and we know it ebbs and flows. So I'm not too worried about it. Look, they're doing, both the Brewers and the Pirates doing pretty well. So not too worried about them. I mean, Cincinnati will be interesting to see. Look, they're playing the White Sox starting tonight, so that could be the cure. That kind of what ails you if you're a team after struggling. So we'll see Eli De La Cruz. We'll see if they can do their thing. We'll see if Will Benson, he's been playing very well. The pitching's been very solid. So we'll see what they do against the White Sox this weekend.
Yeah, I'll be there this weekend, starting tomorrow and Sunday. I'm interested to see Eli De La Cruz up close and personal. So we'll see what happens there. You're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you, talking Major League Baseball, including Cubs and Sox. Lakina, the Kansas City Royals, dare I say it, the first place Kansas City Royals, they sweep away the Houston Astros. The Astros are 4-10. Go figure. The Royals put up a 9 spot in the first inning yesterday to complete the sweep, winning the series finale 13-3. Bobby Witt Jr. It looks like he's starting to come on, but the pitching has been above average at best for Kansas City. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit weird. They're only second behind the Guardians, and it's going to be very interesting to see if they can keep it up. I mean, they, like you said, Wicks have been, kind of started to figure it out a little bit, and the pitching has been really good too. So they actually scored 9 in that first inning, which I think that's the first time that the Astros have done that. That they've done that. So, that's kind of weird if you're an Astros fan. But yeah, I mean, look, they're young, and they're, you've got Pasquantino, who is another one of those. He had 5 RBIs in that Tuesday game against them that where they trounced the Astros in that 9 thing. And they actually scored 13 in the rubber match that kind of kept them the sweep. So we'll see if they can keep it up. I mean, look, we know that the offense is ebbs and flows, but that's really been the thing that's kind of got them going. So we'll see if they can keep it up.
Staying in the American League, congratulations to J.P. Sears. He had a 1-0 shutout victory over the Texas Rangers yesterday. He carried a no-hitter into the 7th inning. I was watching the majority of that game yesterday live, and that was a great pitching performance. It was a shame that Spears didn't get the no-hitter, but Oakland is actually having a surprising start. No, they're not above 500. They're 5-8, but they're playing better than their record. We talked about them taking 2 out of 3 from Detroit last weekend. They take 2 out of 3 in Texas. Right now, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to have a better record than the White Sox, even though that's what the way he's looking right now. But that Oakland team, although a whole lot of people underestimate them talent-wise, I know they don't have the talent compared to some of the big teams, but they play hard and they play better fundamentals than a lot of these other teams do around baseball.
Well, and I think the A's are kind of. I think look, they can't control what's going to go on behind the diamond with all the the relocation, all that stuff. Where they're going to Sacramento, Vegas, they can control what's going on the field. And look, at least so far, they're showing you that look, we're not going to be pushover. So you can't say it's going to be the easy win. So we'll see if they can keep it up. I mean, the A's have been pretty impressive. Like I said, I'm not going to say they're going to be up there with Texas, and Seattle and them, in the AL West, but they can definitely going to give teams some fits.
Yeah, and you had to watch out for teams like that because, like you said, not too much attention is on them. If you get caught sleeping on a bad night, those teams like that can come up and beat you. The Arizona Diamondbacks take 2 out of 3 from Colorado. As we mentioned, of course, the Tampa Bay Rays, they do what they do best, go our way. So they beat up on the Anaheim Angels, and they take 2 out of 3. They're winning the last 2 games of the series, including the series finale yesterday on the left coast, 4-2. Looks like Tampa is starting to get back into form. The Angels had a nice start to the season, but looks like they're going back to their old losing ways.
Yeah, I think these are kind of starting to fall off over there with the Angels. So I mean, they had such promise, but this happened last year, unfortunately. So could be, we'll see if they can kind of like get back on track. Now the Dodgers, they take 2 out of 3 from the Twins. They actually lost the third part of the series a couple of days ago. But I want to give a shout out to Mr. Tyler Glass now. He had 14 strikeouts and 7 scoreless innings and only had 88 pitches. So I believe, and I can get the stick up here if my word here can cooperate. Here, I have it up here. Okay, he's only MLB pitcher with that struck out 14 plus batters while throwing fewer than 90 innings. Since pitchers, were first tracked in 1988 for that particular stat. So a nice showing by him. And look, if he can get it going and he can keep it up, I mean, look, I'm not gonna give him the Cy Young and the NL side just yet, but he's definitely making I think he only had a little over 1.6 ERA, I think I saw. So he's definitely kind of making a case for it, at least early on. But winning 2 out of 3 against the Twins. I mean, look, if you're the Dodgers, look, if you can't win all the series, but if you can just take some series, win 2 out of 3, win 3 out of 4, you can kind of take control of the NL West pretty quick.
Yeah, Tyler Glass now, he was with Tampa Bay a couple of years ago. We had Tommy John surgery, of course. The Dodgers traded for him in the offseason, gave him a contract extension. He's lived up to the billing so far. Yes, it's early, but that was a great performance on Tuesday. Shohei Ohtani, I'm sure we'll get to him as far as the off-the-field stuff next hour with Christine. But as far as on the field, he had another home run in this series, and I know he was throwing out at the plate on Thursday in the series finale, which the umps got it right after replay. But, like you said, the Dodgers just keep winning series, and I think they'll be okay. One more note about the National League. The San Francisco Giants off to a terrible start. The Washington Nationals, they're the Oakland A's of the National League. They take 2 out of 3 from the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on over there. Matt Chapman, who has not had a good start, he decided to go where his old manager was, and was over there with the Giants. He's not having a good start. The pitches has not been very good either in the Bay Area. So you thought that maybe they could compete, or at the very least try to compete with San Diego and even the Dodgers to some extent, but not looking good so far.
Yeah, and the Philadelphia Phillies, I thought they weren't going to get through the game yesterday because it was raining so much in St. Louis, but they win the series finale and they take 2 out of 3 from St. Louis. They beat Lance Lynn of all people yesterday.
Yeah, they kind of hit it pretty well. And they were actually playing through the rain to their credit. I think they wanted to get that game in because I know they probably didn't want to make up that game early, later in the year. So I think the Phillies kind of did the right thing and ended up winning. So actually ended up being worth it. So let's talk about this weekend series. Speaking of Philadelphia, it'll be the Battle of Pennsylvania as they face Pittsburgh, Minnesota, and Detroit. Detroit kind of had a little bit of a not a good week for Detroit. The Tigers, I mean, they still 7-4, so they're still very. I know the first game was postponed, so we'll see what happens. I know they split a 2-gamer with the Pirates, but they lose 2 out of 3 against the A's. So I know they want to kind of hurry up and get back on track there for that. San Fran, they face the Rays. The first game, the Apple TV Plus doubleheader, Friday doubleheader. Of course, all of you in Milwaukee and Baltimore, you'll be able to watch that game. You got to stream it on Apple TV Plus. Gonna have to find other places to do there. We talked about Toronto as they host Colorado. Kierwood Ilja there. And on ESPN Plus, you got the Angels and the Red Sox.
Yeah, Mike Trout's only visit to Fenway Park. Of course, to finish out the rest of the weekend schedule, you have Atlanta and Miami to take on the Marlins. Kansas City will visit New York City to take on the Mets, the rematch of the 2015 World Series. I know the bad memory for Mets fans there, but that's a whole nother issue. Other weekend series is going on. The Battle of Texas as the Rangers will take on the Astros for the second time this season. This time, this series is in Houston. The Cubs will face the Mariners. Remember, tonight's series opener will be streamed on Apple TV Plus only. For those of you that have the MLB package like I do, it'll be streamed 90 minutes after the game is concluded. Of this weekend series, the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks, Washington at Oakland. Speaking of those two teams, they play each other this weekend. That should be underrated fun. And we have the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers. That should be another fun series as well.
Always from those two teams. They definitely have had it, going on in recent years. Of course, the Guardians Yankees series has already been postponed, so it actually will be a doubleheader tomorrow. And the FS1 game of the week for Saturday, you got Texas and Houston. No, we're not repeating ourselves. It's actually their second time playing each other this year. On ESPN Plus, you got San Diego and the Dodgers. And the ESPN, also Sunday Night Baseball, you also got the Padres and the Dodgers. So a lot of Padres and Dodgers matchups getting a lot of national attention this week.
And that's your schedule for this weekend in Major League Baseball.
All right, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Of course, we're going to go to Hardwood this time. We'll recap the national championship game as UConn is a machine. Kentucky has found their new head coach. And the NBA side, they're finishing up their regular season. A lot to be decided. Well, besides the Bulls, they're playing. That's already been decided. But other playoff spots has not been. Still a lot of back and forth there. Our buddies Christine Manika from KXRB and her husband, golfer Chris Gilman, will join us to talk Masters. Yeah, we'll talk Masters, baseball, men's and women's hoops, and a whole lot more. So a lot more fun to have in the second half hour of Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown. All that and more coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to album number 2 of Second City Sports on the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakin McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Kin McGee on the Twitter, X, going to get an IG.
We have less than an hour left for this extravaganza. If you have any questions or comments for us, don't be afraid to jump in the comment section. In order to do that, you must go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get the up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color on Roku TV.
It's the hardwood hour, as we'll talk men's national championship game. But first, we're going to talk some NBA. The Bulls, they beat Detroit. They clinched the 10th spot in the play-in. Yay.
Number 9. And they actually get to host it, I think, next Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yes, I believe
against Atlanta.
Yeah. So I believe you're right. So I guess that's kind of how that works out. But still, on outside of that, there's still a lot to be decided on the outskirts of it. Now, earlier this week, the Nuggets beat the T-Wolves. They're only like a game apart in for the number 1 seed in the West. So still a lot to be decided there at the top.
Yeah, you mentioned that with is potential good news coming for the Minnesota Timberwolves as Karl-Anthony Towns looks like he may play the last 2 games of the regular season to get his conditioning back just in time for the playoffs for Minnesota. Actually, the Timberwolves have been playing very well without Karl-Anthony Towns. Do they need him, especially going into the playoffs, which starts next weekend? Of course they do, but they've been playing very well without him. Of course, Anthony Edwards, I told you he was my first half MVP. He's been stepping his game up. Give head coach Chris Finch credit. And of course, that's one of the best defensive teams in the NBA this year. So we all thought that Minnesota was really going to take a major dip. No way. They've been within a striking distance in the top 3 in the Western Conference all year long.
Yeah, I mean, Gobert has stepped up in Towns' absence. A few other guys have stepped up as well. So they've kind of kept things afloat. So yeah, you're going to need, they're going to actually need them back. They want to go far in the playoffs. So, but this loss against for the T-Wolves, I mean, again, that kind of gives you that, that number 1 spot. So there's still a lot to be decided over there. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, I know Boston lost to the Knicks yesterday. I mean, look, I know everyone will say, oh, the Knicks actually have a shot to go to the NBA Finals. Okay, guys, slow it down. Look, Jalen Brunson, to his credit, he had 39 points. You probably could say that if not for Jokic and Gilgeous-Alexander, you probably could say he may have, a say on, the MVP discussion, maybe. But I just think that people need to kind of chill out on that one because of the Celtics. They've clinched number 1 seed. They've clinched everything. So they kind of just ride along. Like, I know you want to play every game, but you don't want to overexert yourself. Especially, I know Jason Tatum only had 18, so you kind of wonder, like, did they Celtics didn't want to expand too much energy. So, I'm not looking at this loss like a nice one for the Knicks, but I'm not gonna go all crazy. Oh my God, they may have a shot to go to finals. Okay, slow down, folks.
You know how many New York sports fans are, and they're crazy and they're delusional at times. But with that being said, back to on the court matters. Of course, the Knicks are trying to reach a plateau they haven't reached within over a decade, which is 50 wins. I know they fell 3 wins short last year. And plus, the Knicks are trying to get the number 2 seed, and we'll talk about the Milwaukee Bucks in just a moment. But we talked about this Knicks team all year long, especially after acquiring OJ Anunoby from the Toronto Raptors and before Julius Randle unfortunately went down with that shoulder injury. They were playing like the best team in the Eastern Conference next to the Boston Celtics, of course. Injuries to OJ Anunoby, who's back now in almost called Zach Randle, but Julius Randle Of course, his shoulder injury has negated him to the bench for the rest of the year. And I was listening to one of those shows in New York City, and one of the hosts were talking about how this the Randall injury could be a blessing in disguise that getting guys more playing time. We've seen that throughout this year, but they can play better as a team. And the other host said that come the playoffs, you'll need a guy like Julius Randle, even though he hasn't proven to be that guy in the playoffs. You need that big guy during the playoffs because everything slows down and every possession is micromanaged and magnified 10 times more. But I think whoever the Knicks draw up in the first round, I think they'll win that series. But if they have to face Milwaukee or I don't think they have to face Boston in the second round if they finish with the number 3 or number 2 seed. So if whoever they face in the second round, if it's Milwaukee or Philly, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. It's all gonna depend on matchups and I know Knicks fans want to kind of have that that hope that maybe they may have a shot, not having Randall there, but you gotta wonder though, especially look, as Bulls fans with Tibbs teams, we've seen this movie before. You thought that maybe you have a shot to perhaps get that top team, and then something weird happens, whether someone gets hurt or you just have a bad draw or you just don't play very well. So I know Knicks fans want to hang on to something. But I think that right now you just kind of have to not take that many steps toward it. So I think people need to kind of just slow down on that. Now, probably another like 2 teams that are kind of going to see something back and forth between the play-in and that 6th spot, the Pelicans and the Suns. The Pelicans got a big win against Sacramento last night, while the Suns had a bad loss. So unfortunately, now there's a game that's between the two of them, and it's going to come down to those last 2 games. And if you're Phoenix, you better hope that you got the Warriors and the Lakers to finish up the season. So you better hope that both those teams are going to are in the play-in. So you got to hope that maybe Steph gets some rest, LeBron gets some rest, AD gets some rest, and maybe we can win those 2 games, and perhaps hope that the Pelicans lose their next 2, because one of their next 2. It's going to be interesting to see what they do here, because I just if you're Phoenix, you don't want to be in that play-in. So I mean, it's just it's already bad enough that you're already been a disappointing this year with this. I'm talking about the Suns. Now you're going to be playing. You better hope that the Kings. I think the Pelicans pay the Warriors, but the Kings and T-Wolves. So the Kings are probably already in the play-in. So you got to hope that their guys said T-Wolves. Same thing. We'll see where they're at. Maybe the Nuggets clinch the number 1 seed. And they have bench 6 some of those guys out. So. Same thing with the Pelicans too. I mean, you don't want to be in that play-in, so it's going to be interesting to see which teams show up.
Yeah, for Phoenix, they'll play Sacramento if the season ended today. I know we have 3 days left in the regular season, but we talked about this all year long. I saw a stat the other night watching the Phoenix Suns lose. Did you know that Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker? I couldn't believe it that out of 82 games this year, as of this live broadcast, they only played a combined 38 games together. I was like, it doesn't seem like they played that many games together. I was like, that's makes almost half the year.
Oh yeah, I believe that. I believe it, because we know, look, Beal's been hurt. We know, Booker has had his injury issues this year. We know Katie kind of sometimes going out of the lineup, and I think that's been one of the problems why the Suns are in their position right now, because those 3 have not been able to play together consistently. So I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, and so with Sacramento, we all thought they were going to take a slight step back, in which they have, but they're still playing good ball. De'Aaron Fox is an all-star from last year. He still can carry a team. Domantas Sabonis, we saw what he did, especially in the playoffs last year against the Golden State Warriors. But they're going to miss Malik Monk, their 6th man of the year candidate. I thought should have won that award last year, but that's on another show. But Sacramento, it's going to be a tough game if those 2 teams match up for the play-in. I'm talking about Sacramento and Phoenix. That's going to be tough. But I want to talk about the Warriors and the Lakers. Of course, the Lakers, they played the Warriors on Tuesday this was the Lakers' last regular season game at home. I know they were playing without Anthony Davis, but LeBron James, he can only do so much. But the Warriors were just on fire, especially from the outside. Steph Curry was doing this thing. We saw the resurgence of Klay Thompson. Draymond Green, who was behaving himself, he was 5 of 5 from downtown in that first half.
Yeah, and you got to think that will the Warriors kind of go all in those last those last couple of games? They are very close to play-in spots, so I'm sure they want to try to improve their seeding. So we'll see if they can kind of keep it up. But yeah, they play the Pelicans tonight, and if you're a Suns fan, you better take care of your business against the Kings, and you better hope that Steph shoots lights out against against the Pelicans, so that that Suns take care of your business, and maybe you can try to stick into that main spot. You don't want to play in the plane. I don't think they want to do that. So
No, they don't. But I want to ask you this, Lakina. Do you think it's more or less important that the Lakers, assuming that the Lakers will play the Warriors next week in the play-in tournament, do you think it's more or less important for the Lakers to have home court advantage?
I mean, look at their record, home and away. I mean, yeah, they've had a much better record at home than away. So I think if you're the Lakers, you want to try to get that 9 seed, so you can host that playing against the Warriors, Kings, whoever you end up playing. Yeah, I think you want to try to get that, because if not, you got to go on the road, and you have to go. You don't have to go far in both cases, but you don't want to do that, especially the crowd's going to be rocking, and they may feed off that home crowd. You want to make sure control of that. So yeah, that might be interesting to see what happens with that. And Philadelphia, they've won a couple lately, and they've won 6 in a row. And they still got a shot at perhaps getting that in the main draw. They're only a game back of both the Pacers and the Magic. So you wonder. Look, all these seats going back and forth. I mean, they may stick here and say hello. So we'll see. I mean, the Sixers may be getting to go at this.
Yeah, if the Sixers could catch the Indiana Pacers for that 6th spot, if the season would end today, they would face the New York Knicks. If you're the New York Knicks, like I said, you got trying to finish number 2, because with the healthy enough Joel Embiid, especially without Julius Randle, that's going to be a tough draw for the New York Knicks. But if you're Orlando and Indiana, you're absolutely worried about Philadelphia taking one of your spots, because if that happens, where you guys going to play the Miami Heat in the play-in? We saw what Miami did last year. Even though they lost to Atlanta in their first play-in game, they beat the Bulls, and you saw what happened there on after until they got to the finals. So even though Miami hasn't had the greatest of seasons, even though they're still 8 games above 500 as of this live broadcast, you don't want to get playoff Jimmy going, even though he hates that nickname. You don't want to get him going, and you don't want to get his other teammates going as well, because it's going to be tough. We know that Eric Spoelstra will have his guys ready. And you're Philadelphia, you got to take care of business. Like I said, Orlando, nice season. They haven't been there before. Same thing with Indiana in this group. So, like I said, Philadelphia, if they finish strong, they'll probably make it out of the play-in. But if you're Indiana or Orlando, you have to be more worried than Philadelphia, obviously.
Yeah, it's only like 3 games between the 2nd and the 6th seed. So still a lot to be decided here. So yeah, it's gonna get a little tighter these next couple of games. So yeah, it's gonna get, for people to say, oh, the regular season doesn't mean anything. Well, you know what? It just got exciting these last couple of games. So last couple of games. Speaking of Orlando and Philadelphia, they actually do face each other tonight at 6. Bulls and Wizards. Hornets in Boston. I seriously doubt. I think if you're Boston, you want to kind of Brown and Tate, you want to try set them out. I think just for
it's a back-to-back, the second game of a back-to-back. So we'll see how head coach Joe Mazzulla handles that.
Pacers and Cavs again. Nets and Knicks, and Toronto and Miami at 7.
The rest of your Friday night schedule for tonight looks like this. The Lakers will face Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. Atlanta will face Minnesota. Your NBA Friday night TV game of the week will have the Milwaukee Bucks at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Say that 5 times fast. Remember, no Giannis Antetokounmpo for Milwaukee. He's out for the rest of the regular season. We'll see about his status for the first round next week as the playoffs will begin. Denver will face San Antonio. Detroit will visit Dallas. The Pelicans will visit Golden State. Big game for both teams there tonight. The Rockets will face Portland. The Jazz will take on the Clippers. And the Suns and the Kings will be the Friday night TV game in the second half of that doubleheader.
That should be a fun. We'll be watching that. Of course, no games tomorrow because Sunday are the last regular season games. And a lot of these games will be coming out at the same time. So there will be no scoreboard watching.
Yeah, noon and 2:30 Chicago time.
Exactly. New Chicago time. We got Washington and Boston, Charlotte and Cleveland, Atlanta and Indiana. We'll see where Indiana will be by then. Toronto and Miami. And you got Knicks and Bulls. First game of the ESPN Sunday doubleheader. That Sid said it, not me. Milwaukee and Orlando. Again, we'll see where both teams are by then. Brooklyn, Philadelphia, and Denver. Well, y'all stop there. I'll let you do the 2:30 games.
Okay, your 2:30 games for Sunday looks like this: Denver and Memphis. It won't mean nothing to Denver.
Nah.
Maybe not. But the Suns will face Minnesota. The Phoenix Suns will face Minnesota. The Lakers and the New Orleans Pelicans. That'll be the second game of the ESPN regular season finale doubleheader. The other games are as follows: Dallas at OKC, Detroit at San Antonio, Utah at Golden State, Houston at Los Angeles. The table on the Clippers. That's the last regular season game at the place formerly known as Staples Center for LA. We have the Portland Trailblazers will visit the Sacramento Kings, and that's your end of the regular season schedule. And the play-in tournament games will start on Tuesday.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes with the scoreboard watch, because like I said, there's only a couple of games separate some of these teams, so it's gonna get interesting to see what happens in the rest of the season in the NBA, but should be fun. Just like I see Sports of Chicago, like Keenan McGee, Sydney Brown with you. Let's stay in the hardwoods. Let's go to the men's side on the college side. In Phoenix, just outside Phoenix, I should say in Glendale, UConn no trouble with Purdue 75-60. That's their sixth national championship since 1999. Their second of a back-to-back. First team to do that since the Florida teams with Noah and Brewer and Horford and Green and that group back in 06 and 07. Tristan Newton, who you could probably, I think we talked about it last year when UConn won that. You could probably say he probably should have won MOP last year. He does win it this year. 19 points for Mr. Newton, 20 points, I should say, for Mr. Newton, and five rebounds. Donovan Kling and 7 assists, I should say, with Mr. Newton. Donovan Clingan had 11 points and 5 rebounds, a couple of big blocks. Cam Spencer, we probably could have won most Men's All-Time Player, 11 points also for UConn. As for Purdue on the losing end, Zach Edey, 37 points and 10 boards, a nice way to finish off his career with the Boilermakers. But unfortunately, Braden Smith helped out a little bit with 12 points. But Lawyer, Jones, they were there were a combined, I think, like 2 for 8. And this, unfortunately, this has kind of been the microcosm of their losses. Edey does a lot of the work. Braden Smith helps out a little bit, but everyone else just doesn't show up. And I think, unfortunately, UConn is a machine. So what did you think of the national championship game, Sid?
Yeah, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. I think that's kind of what we said on our show last Friday, previewing that. Monday, previewing the game. Who's going to help out Zach Edey? How was UConn going to defend him, and how the other guys for Purdue were going to help him out? Like you mentioned, Zach Edey unfortunately did not get much help from his teams. On the flip side for UConn, they had a +7 rebounding advantage at 35-28. And we know that both these teams couldn't shoot the ball well from three-point range. I know Connecticut did it slightly better at 27%, Purdue at 14%. But it came down to the trenches, and UConn was the better team at that. They were the better team overall. As we talked about on the show throughout the tournament, this UConn team plays ball together, teamwork, better than anybody else in the country. They share the ball. They cut through screens, and they rebound the ball. They play defense, especially in the interior. And the best team won. That's all you can say.
Yeah, I mean, Newton, of course, I didn't know how the heck the Texas kind of missed out on this kid. I mean, he was All-State, 2-time All-State, of course. Now he has 2-time national champion, he has an MOP, and also is a first-team All-American. Also, too, was the Big East Player of the Year. So you got to wonder how the heck did Texas miss out on that guy. But also, too, they're actually the third team to do it consecutive years, win by more than 13 points on average. They joined the likes of Will Alcindor and those UCLA teams from the late 60s. So they're just breaking records all around, and just a machine over there in the stores. And just you probably say last year's team, you probably say they kind of overachieved. They kind of came out of nowhere, sort of, but sort of similar to. But yeah, I mean, look, Dan Hurley is building a machine there. He's got a great recruiting class coming in. And I mean, I think look, I know people are like, well, there were no stars, and all the one and does. Well, look, Edie is a 4-year guy. Noon's a 4-year guy. Cam Spencer's a 5-year guy. He's a grad transfer. Pick a side, people. Like, really? Like, people been killing me with some of these takes. Our buddy Amp, who of course, Locked On Jaguars podcast friend of the show, kind of said something. So he's like, well, wait a minute, which one is it? Pick a side, y'all. Like, y'all keep moving the goalposts. Like, come on now.
Yeah, we talked about throughout the tournament the teams that had those players stick together for the last 3 or 4 years, and remember that extra COVID year was a beneficiary to a lot of these schools as well, and so that's why we saw some of these upsets occur now more than ever. So we know that the one and dones, I'm not going to say is over with. It still has its place, but the one thing that affects it more now, as we talked about, is the transfer portal. And we had Kenny McReynolds from WCIU TV here in Chicago on with us a couple of weeks ago. He said it the best, and we will keep saying it here. The team that you have today may not be the team that you have tomorrow.
And our buddies Christine and Chris are joining us. We'll give them a chance to set up here now. Kentucky has hired the new head coach. He actually is a member of the '96 national championship. He was one of the co-captains there. Mark Post, of course, he's been the last 4 years down and over at in BYU. They've been to this NCAA tournament 3 of the 4 years he was there. I know some people say it's not really a flashy hire, but look, he was coach under Patino. He was assistant coach there for a few years when Coach Tino before he left. So I think, look, Kentucky, I mean, again, not the flashiest hire, but at least you got someone who is in that trig and does know the program well.
Yeah, I remember him as one of those last guys coming off the bench in the NBA for Denver and Milwaukee back 20 something, excuse me, almost 20 something years ago now. But like you said, he did a great job at BYU. I told you that BYU, I was impressed by them in their first year in the Big 12. Obviously, they lost in their first round of the Big Dance. But let's be honest here, Lakina, great hire to save face, but let's be honest here. Scott Drew didn't want the job. I don't think Shaka Smart wanted any part of that for Marquette as well. So, and I know there was talk about Billy Donovan leaving the Bulls to come to Kentucky. Remember, as you mentioned, the last team before UConn to win back-to-back championships was the Billy Donovan teams in 06 and 07. It was a whole different world in college basketball with Mr. Donovan there almost 20 years ago than it is now. And I don't think Billy Donovan wanted – yeah, I know the old saying goes, money talks, BS walks, but if you're Billy Donovan, did you really want to deal with the NIL and the transfer portal in particular? Do you really want to deal with it? I don't care if you get paid $200 million, $2 or what have you. Do you want to deal with that?
I doubt that. And of course, I know Scott Drew probably didn't want no part of that either with the pressures over there. So, yeah, Nate Oates, yeah, and especially now with Nick Saban now retired, I think he can now kind of be the king down there in Alabama. They went to the Final Four the first time ever. So, yeah, I mean, look, good luck to Mark Pope. I hope the Kentucky folks give him some time. Look, he's part of the Blue Blood, down there. He's got a national championship under his belt. So hopefully give him some time to kind of help develop it.
Yeah, because they definitely will need players. All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. We'll have our last break on the flip side. We'll have our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika, coming up, and officially now her husband, Chris Gilman. We'll talk Masters. We'll talk about the Chicago Bulls making Shackton a fool, I'm sure, and we'll get into baseball and a whole lot more. Stay right there. Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago continues following these messages.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. We're live in the living color on the Friday edition right here on Sports Soul Chicago. That's Lakina. I'm Sid. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow Makita McGee on the Twitter, X at KXRB, and the IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So make these questions or comments great, especially for our next guest. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so the first time I think in a while, so we got both of them on at the same time, so we're really excited here. We got a lot to talk about with them. So
now officially a married couple. Since last time Chris joined us.
Yeah, so let's have the newlyweds bring them on with us. She is KXRB's Christine Manika, and of course golfer Chris Gilman. How are you guys?
We're good. How are you?
We're doing well. So we got a lot to talk about with them. So let's get to it.
Yes, Christine, I'll start with you before we get to the golf. I want to go to the women's college basketball, of course. The semifinal game between Iowa and Connecticut, the highest rated ever on ESPN for men and women's college basketball. Of course, the last Sunday afternoon's championship game was highly rated as well, as South Carolina completes the undefeated season, defeating Iowa and Caitlin Clark and crew. I want to get your thoughts on what did you think about South Carolina and what did you think about the women's Final Four overall?
South Carolina's good. Dawn Staley is one heck of a coach, and I'm sure she's going to be making her mark more so in not only the college basketball world, but who knows, maybe in the WNBA or even the NBA one of these days. I definitely think that it was very entertaining, more entertaining than the men's, I'll say, for in that regard. But I think it just shows that girls can ball, girls can play, and it's just awesome to see everybody rallying around that idea.
Yeah, well, Chris, what do you think? I know you probably watched a little bit of it too. What do you think about that women's championship game?
Yeah, to be honest, because sort of our schedule, my schedule, I didn't get to catch a whole lot of the tournament games until, say, the Elite LSU and Iowa, and then we watched both semis and the final together. And I was amazed, honestly, at Iowa actually beating UConn. Now you can go either way based on the amount of play of the game, but I thought both men's and women's teams for UConn were extremely strong. We ended up watching a lot of the USC UConn game, which I think was the Elite Eight game before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what it was, and I'm like, holy cow, this team is so good. And so to see Iowa defeat them and then get beat fairly handily by South Carolina, that just goes to show how good South Carolina was this year. And same goes for the men's side as well. UConn was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Agree. I totally agree. Now on the men's side, of course, UConn back-to-back national championships. Dan Hurley has built a machine down over there in stores. And so, what do you guys think about that? I know you said that it was a more entertaining. I think everyone can agree on that. But I mean, what do you guys think of what Dan Hurley has done to that program?
I think it's great what he's done to the program to have so many wins under his belt, back-to-back championships now. It shows that that he's really getting UConn back to that elite status in the college basketball world. And Purdue it's up there too. Just because they lost doesn't mean that they are one of the better programs out there in the country. I think they had a tough go around. They definitely let Zach Edey do whatever he wanted to do, and then the team, it shows that it didn't really make a difference with Zach Edey, that you really need the entire team in order to win the game.
What about you, Chris?
Same. I know what Christina's referencing, and I believe it was UConn's coach that mentioned that we were going to let him do what he wants, but as long as we can shut everybody else down, we're going to have a great chance of winning. And so they executed their game plan to a T, and how good is their defense? That's 5 men on the court, just constantly helping each other out. So that's obviously coaching and just effort on the players. So good on them.
Yeah, it should be interesting what happens here. I guess I had to step out for a second though. I don't see him out there, but yeah,
It's all good.
I'll be back soon. But yeah, okay, let's switch gears to talk about baseball, of course. Christine, and then at least the Sox at least didn't get swept in Cleveland, so I guess that's a good thing. But unfortunately, Manika is going to be out for a few months. So yeah, what do you
No
think?
surprise.
Yeah,
No surprise. It's typical White Sox season. And if it's not Mankata, it's Eloy. Oh.
Uh-oh. Oh, dear. Okay. Uh-oh. Hope he's okay. Go ahead, finish your thought, Christine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's not Eloy, it's Mankata. And it's a constant cycle. I heard that Grafal is not really great in the clubhouse right now, so that could be an issue going forward. So who knows what's going to happen with the White Sox this season? Like I said, I have no expectations for this team. I'm going to be happy if they get 50 wins this year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I know, Chris. You're of course we know your team is the Angels, and they had a little bit of a good start, but they've kind of fallen off a little bit. So, what about you? Do you have any expectations for your Angels?
No, I don't really, but I think in the same way that when they hired,
Ron Washington.
Yeah, who was the Cubbies coach when they won the World Series?
He was the name of a dog. He was in the name of a dog.
I forgot the name of that. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, Joe.
Joe. Joe Madden. What was it, Madden?
Yes, thank you.
Joe Madden. Okay.
So when they hired Joe Madden, I really felt like if that could change the culture of the club itself, and it didn't quite work out. But it's obvious that in listening to people talk about the Angels leading into the season and so far,
Yeah.
style is the type that just is going to be a player's manager, so to speak. So in that sense, I'm hopeful for the future. I don't think they have a whole lot of talent per se, and they don't spend enough money on pitching. And
Right.
I believe it was last year, perhaps the year before, a couple of former players came out in like semi-anonymously and talking about the facilities itself and what the ball club was actually paying for. Like they had a very substandard weight room. They were pitching pennies and things that other clubs don't even, think twice about accommodating for their players. And I don't think that builds in the kind of culture that you want. You want people to want to play in Anaheim. You want players to have their best mentally and physically. So if the ownership group is not taking care of the players enough, then it affects their outcome on the field. So I hope the team gets sold, or I hope that Artie Moreno finally opens up his pocketbook a little bit. So, but we'll see. I thought they were going to win 87 to 90 games last year, and they were winning like 76 or something like that. It's a little disappointing, and I feel like they're going to do the same again this year. I mean, they're not going anywhere, so.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, so I'll say it's interesting that the Angels and the A's are on the same boat. So we'll see what happens there. So you're okay over there?
Yeah, unfortunately, my hamstring's starting to act up on me. It looks like I'm okay now. So I had my water, so I'm good to go. Christina, I wanted to ask you about Caitlin Clark. Of course, she brought the majority of the casual viewers, including yours truly, over to watch the Women's March Madness and, of course, the Final Four. How much do you think that'll translate to her making her debut coming up in May in the WNBA? Do you think that same momentum can continue?
Well, considering that the Indiana Fever has 36 out of their 40 games being nationally broadcasted. So if that doesn't tell you anything, I think that answer speaks for itself.
Nakia?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting what they can. It'll be interesting to see what they can do with that. I mean, 36. Most of the games will be on there, so hopefully, can build off that momentum. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Let's second see sports. Sports has got Lakeem McGee, City Brown, our girl Christy Mack, or KXRB, and her hubby, our guy, golfer Chris Gilman. Now let's talk about the Masters for a second, guys, because Bryson DeChambeau actually just birdied, I think, his opening hole. So now he is in the league. I think he and Homer are tied right now. And Tiger will make the cut, I think. So, yeah, I mean, weather shouldn't be a problem. So it should be nice and warm the rest of this weekend. So what do you think? Can DeChambeau kind of, get it going down there in Augusta?
Yeah, right now, I just updated it, and it looks like both he and Scheffler tied the lead at -7 with a couple people close behind. And I think if you were going to go outright bet on somebody pre-tournament, I think it has to be Scotty Scheffler. He's playing better than everybody else on the planet. And I'm pleasantly surprised. I don't have anything for or against Bryson DeChambeau per se, but I'm pleasantly surprised at how he started, and it looks like he's really dialed in with just about everything. So I think he's going to continue forward, and Scotty is automatic at this point. So he's the man to beat, and everybody else is just a step behind. So it's his tournament to lose. Of course, I said that last year about Brooks Koepka and John Rahal.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Chrissy, what do you think?
Yeah. I was gonna say it's exciting to see Homa doing really well at Augusta this week. That was kind of a surprise to both of us, really, that he just kind of had the club swinging straight out the gate. And I think it's interesting with Bryson DeChambeau. It can go either way. I feel like for him, it just depends on the course. It depends on the club that he's using, because we heard yesterday that he likes to do a little trickery. He likes to do a little testing of different clubs every now and again. So
And he swings so dang hard.
yeah,
so-
he swings
Yeah,
so
he
hard
does.
too. Definitely the surprises. I'm gonna say I feel horrible for Jordan Spieth that he's kind of down and out right now. Being, I believe he's 7 over still at the moment. He's now 8
Ooh, 8
over at the moment.
Lord.
And then another one that's kind of shocking, because you would think since he's used to the course a little bit more than some of the other guys, Dustin Johnson, he's really not having a great tournament either. He's 12 over at the moment. So just a lot of people that we thought that was going to do well ended up they're succumbing to the pressure, you can say. Even we were talking about Justin Thomas, how we haven't really seen or heard much of him this tournament either. As we're looking, I think he's above the cut line right now. So yeah, so as we're looking, the cut line is 4 over, which is, I think, hilarious to me. But it's a hard course. I believe, oh, there he is. So Justin Thomas, he's even right now. So he's playing solid, good, all things considered, with how Augusta is. But yeah, a lot of surprises of people that you thought that were going to do well, and even Spieth was predicted to potentially win this year. Even Wyndham Clark had something going for him too for a little bit. But it just goes to show that golf is a finicky sport. That it can be anybody's day, it can be anybody's bad day.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just I've been there before, on the grounds watching the tournament when Tiger won in 2019, and the place is just so hard. And some of it is luck for sure. Get the right balance, get the right wind gust, and a lot of it's just execution. So if you catch lightning in the bottle, you're the person who's hitting it the best that week. You're gonna have the best chance to win. So there's no surprises on, say, the top 3 players on the leaderboard with DeChambeau, Scheffler, and Homa, because they all hit it really nicely. And I feel like if it's not Scheffler, it might be one of the other 2 this week.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I like Fitzpatrick's not having a bad couple of rounds either. So far,
No.
he's in 9th at 1 under and 2 under overall so far. And I feel bad also for Nick Dunlap. He's a young kid, just turned professional not too long ago, and he didn't really have the best day either yesterday. He picked it up towards the end. Right now, he's 1 over on the day and 6 over total. So we'll see. There's still time for him to come back and to at least get the 4 over cut line, I think. But you got to feel for those rookies that are under the pressure right now, under the gun.
You have to be a quick study around there. It's just really, really, really hard.
Yeah, they swallow you up alive, Sid.
Yeah, I just saw the highlight package they ran here live on ESPN about the day that Tiger Woods is having so far. I think he's back at a +2. He was at a +1, but some of those shots that he usually would make, he's missing them by by inches. And back in the day, he could make those. But I will say this is better to see him walking around this year compared to last year. He had all that nasty weather. You could tell. We talked about it last year, guys. That especially around this time last year on that Saturday. Before the rain started coming down, he could barely walk, but I'm just glad to see him out there this year. I'm crossing my fingers that he'll make the cut. It looks like he will, but, compared to what happened to him a year ago, this is definitely a great sight to see.
And I was telling that to Chris too. I'm like, he just looks healthier walking on the course and just having a better drives and just he's getting there. It's no one said that his recovery was gonna be an overnight process. He probably thought it was going to be instantaneously like that with the amount of training and, crazy hours that he wakes up and works out. But no, it's a process. It's definitely a healing process. And I think from when he first got back to Augusta to where he is now, total improvement overall.
100%. Yeah. We were watching yesterday and you saw him smile.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Mhm. Yeah.
We know how much of a competitor, how much of a quote unquote like killer he is on the golf course, and to see him like emote like that. Funny enough, it's not out of character. It's just that it's good to see that he wasn't in that moment thinking about, oh gosh, how's my body doing?
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
surviving this moment. I'm enjoying the moment instead. So for all of us fans, I think that's a great thing. That
If you're
means that
CB. Yeah, if you're CBS, you're probably hoping that Tiger can make a little bit of a run to kind of get those ratings improved.
Yes.
And look, Rory's right there in the tie for 12. So remember, this is the only major he doesn't have. So he might have a say on who wins this weekend as well. It's been close a few times, so we'll see.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, Christine, Chris, and Lakina here with you. Christine, let's jump over to baseball. You weren't the first one to have this opinion. It's been out there for the last couple of years, but Michael Kopech now is the new closer for the Chicago White Sox. Both the games that the White Sox have won, Kopech has saved both of them. Now with the injury to Johan Manika, he'll be out the next 3 to 6 months. Eloy is on the shelf already. Luis Roberts going to miss in the next few weeks. I said this to Lakina during the beginning of our show. They should have taken 2 out of 3 against Cleveland despite all the injuries, but call me crazy. I'm not saying the White Sox are going to make a run here, but they're actually putting up some runs, but it's their bullpen outside of Michael Kopech that's not getting it done. What do you think about the White Sox? A horrible start thus far, but it's not as bad as people think, in my opinion.
It's bad enough. it's bad
but
enough.
But it's also like these last 2 games, though.
Sure. I mean, it's bad enough. If you wanted to start a season with the bang, well, you did that. A bang straight into the garbage can, for sure. I said I'll be lucky if the White Sox end up with 50 wins this year. I'm glad they finally figured out a spot for Kopech because I did always think of him if he wasn't a starter. Let's make him a closer, and I think that's going to work well for him. I think mentally it's going to work well for him too, just to know that he has a position and that he has a solid spot, knowing what he's doing on the team now. And I also think, with Johan Mankana being out, if it's not him, it's Eloy Jimenez. Like it's always one or the other when it comes to these types of injuries. So is it going to affect them? Anything's going to affect the White Sox at this point, whether it's an injury, whether it's a missed ball, whether it's even Pedro Grifol, who's apparently not the best in the locker room at the moment, as opposed to what he was this time last season. So I think it's a dumpster fire this year. I've accepted that. I don't care what they do this year at this point. I just want them to get 50 wins. That's the goal.
Well, look, Garrett Crochet's been solid. Oh, look, Crochet's been solid, so I guess you can look at it that
right,
way.
Crochet's great. He's awesome. He would have been great with Dylan Cease too next to him, but what do I know?
On that note, let's talk about the Shohei Ohtani and that whole thing. His former interpreter, I guess it comes out that he said it was like 100 and something million that he went into for like, I guess, a gambling ring or something. And I guess according to, they got like texts and stuff like that apparently Shohei didn't know anything about it. I guess so. Christine, I'll start with you, and Chris, you can chime in as well. What do you guys think of this whole thing, and do you think MLB is handling it as best as they could? What do you guys think?
Let's choose our words carefully.
Right. So I think
we don't want no libel.
Right. So I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago when this was all coming out, and one of the first things I said was this could be a cultural difference, and this could be a misinterpretation of cultures, because in Japan and just in that part of the world in general, gambling is not as prominent or not as popular as what it is here in the United States to the extent that we have it. So I think what happened was, once you get a lot of money in your hands, right, you don't really know what to do with it 90% of the time. And I think in the case of his interpreter, he overextended himself. And what it sounds like what it sounds like is that Shohei was just trying to help him out, trying to bail him out of tough situations without realizing the ramifications behind that should something like this happen, which it did. So do I think he was involved? I think he was more involved helping out a friend than he was gambling. Maybe the friend didn't even tell him that this was sports gambling. We don't know that, but he probably went up to him saying, "Hey, I'm in a bind, I'm in debt." And with having the lucrative money that Shohei has, trying to be a nice guy, he helped him out without, again, knowing the ramifications behind it.
What do you think, Chris?
Do we know if his interpreter Ipe is like independently wealthy, or like grew up with money or anything?
I don't think so.
There were a couple of different stories. Yeah, graduated from a college nearby, university nearby, and people can't find whether that's true or not, and all these different things. And I don't know, him making 19,000 bets over the course of their relationship being together, and the amount of money won and lost is obviously pretty significant. It's more money than the four of us will ever see in our life. Winning 140 million and losing 180 million or so. So it's for somebody who may not have come from money, that particular amount does raise the red flags as to how he was able to not often and where he was able. I'm sure we all know sports betting, so it's not like eBay won 140 million and then decided to lose 180 million straight after that. Like there were some ups and downs. So you're constantly paying a bookie, paying the firm and then re-upping. So you have to have a lot of cash on hand to be able to do that. So I will remain silent about sort of my opinion on it. Let's go to a comment.
Yeah, probably smart idea.
As to where he acquired the money from.
All right. Yeah. You're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago, the Friday Fun edition. Sid, Lakina, Christine, and Chris with you. Let's go over to the NFL. Of course, for the first time in history, the NFL will open up the season on a Friday. That's September 6th. The game will be held in Brazil. The Philadelphia Eagles will host, that's right, the Green Bay Packers, and it will air exclusively on Peacock. Chris, I'm like you. I'm not a big fan of these exclusive streaming games, but this is the world we live in now, and everything's on streaming, and that's the way we're going to go eventually. Linear TV, it still has its place, but it looks like it's going to be phased out. I'm not going to say any moment, but in the next few years, it'll probably be phased out completely. I want to get your thoughts on this, followed by Christine.
You first.
Oh wow! So I was thinking. So this is how ignorant I am. I didn't know the game was going on, so I had to look up which stadium they were hosting it in, and it's in Sao Paulo. It's not in Rio de Janeiro. And, so that's one thing. But yeah, it's the NFL does such a good job at it. It's the best, other than say like a couple of soccer leagues in Europe. It's got to be one of the most popular sports leagues in the entire world, and because of that, or because of like betting on it, and just because of the ever-growing popularity of NFL football in general, they do have to make those And I can't wait to hear every update from the three of you on how his progression is going in camp and in preseason games. And yeah, so I'm excited about that because being a SoCal guy, I at least have a soft spot for USC and UCLA. So I want him to succeed, not only for being from California, but also because you guys hold it so near and dear to your heart. And I truly believe for Christine, I think the Bears override everything else. So yeah.
What about you, Christine?
They better be having a lot of water on them because it's gonna be hot. And unlike playing at Lambeau Field or even in Philly, it's not gonna be cold. So I think they're perfectly okay with going to Brazil for a week or so to soak up the sunshine while they can before December hits.
It's gonna be another carnival, I think, right? I mean, you're gonna have guys are probably gonna try and dance and stuff. So it's gonna be interesting to see how. It's gonna be interesting to see how kind of this holiday sets us up here.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jason Kelsey shows up to this game for just the heck of it.
Oh yeah, he is, and
he showed up at WrestleMania last week.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it'll be interesting to see, where these where the team's gonna be staying at, how close they're gonna be to kind of like the center, because we know that it gets very rowdy there. So
it does.
I don't
see.
Yeah, and so so I'm interested to see how that part's gonna play out. So Matt LaFleur and next year I may have to put those guys. I don't want to say put them on a leash, but I think they're gonna have to kind of lock down some of those guys. Yeah. Just saying.
Well, Chris don't have to worry about that anymore. Don't forget, guys, the Bears are playing, I believe, in Germany this year. We don't know the opponent's going to be yet. The schedule will come out in early May. You're listening to Sports on Chicago, Second City Sports. Sid, Lakina, Christine, and Chris with you. Lakina, any last-minute thoughts before we disperse?
Well, George McCaskey said he doesn't want to do Hard Knocks. So
HBO says, bleep you, you're going to do it.
Well, look. I mean, I think because of the fact that they're going to be playing a game in Germany, they say, look, we'll sacrifice one of our home games for not doing Hard Knocks. So, yeah. So, I guess other participants, candidates could be who? I guess I don't know. Well, Washington is out because they got a new head coach. Minnesota,
No, it's interested in Minnesota. No.
Yeah, Baltimore just did it.
I was gonna say Atlanta. They didn't make the playoffs the last couple of years. They got Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, there you go.
And they have a new head coach, so they're out.
Did the Steelers have they done it yet?
No.
Who? No. Who?
Steelers.
No, they have not done it yet. But I think they're right there with the Bears. They don't want to do it either. Like Thomas, it might be your Broncos, Chris.
They need the dump button for
Sean Payton.
Oh yeah, of course. You know it. I'm trying to think real quick. I'm trying to think who else. Maybe Houston. Houston might be a good candidate.
Yeah, they made the playoffs.
A good one.
Yeah, but they made the playoffs last year, so they're out.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the. Oh yeah. So I know D'Amico Morris is probably happy about that. Jacksonville, maybe. They've got a nice.
Maybe.
They got a nice little.
Nobody wants to know about Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well. I mean, I know Andy just did it. I'm trying to think.
I was gonna say the New York Giants.
Maybe the Giants.
Maybe.
I don't know. Right low. I know Dallas might not want to do it. So
they made the playoffs last year anyway, so everybody's sick of them.
Yeah, everybody's probably sick of them. So I would say the Cardinals, but yeah, I know that they did it in season a couple of years ago. That didn't turn out very well, so I don't know if they want to do it again. Yeah, I think
I was
that's
going to say
about-
the Jets, but they did it last year, so you're not going to do them for 2 years in a row.
Yeah, and Salah's not going to, Coach Salah's not going to want to do it again. I can't really, there's nobody else out there, nobody else left that could then want to do it.
Tennessee, no.
No.
Cleveland, no.
Oh, no.
Cleveland, no. We won't let Christine pour her hair out on that one, so that's not going to happen. So the Bears may have a choice in it. If all the other teams that the NFL asks say no, the NFL by rule can pick out a team to do it, whether the team likes it or not. So the Bears may be forced to do it whether they want to or not.
Whoops. Oh well.
Anything else for this first, guys? All right.
No.
Yeah, very good. All right. Yeah. On that note, you can follow my Kenny McGee on the Twitter, X, and Q's going to be on the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sydney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at @Manika_KXRB.
And you still have the bird?
I do, yes.
She's still there. Chris, what about you? Where people can follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Golfer Gilly.
GolferGilly. All right. You can catch Second City Sports every Monday and Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube. One more time, catch Second City Sports every Monday and Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube pages.
And don't forget to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are located on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready to give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And don't forget to catch Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on Roku TV.
Yeah, you can wherever Play Store you got, type in Sports Zone Chicago. You can catch our show, replays of our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellows, What's Up Cuz, and other content there as well.
And we will provide.
All right, enjoy the last weekend of the NBA regular season, almost the last week of the NHL regular season, the Masters, and so much other sports stuff going on. Of course, the baseball, and of course, college baseball and college softball. You got to think now they're going to be on the forefront as well with the hoop seasons being over with. So, for Sid, Christine, and Chris, I'm the Kansas Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Go Tiger! Holla!
Mm-hmm.